Most people never heal from emotional neglect because they were taught it wasn't real pain. They had food, school, birthdays with pictures, but nobody ever asked how they felt. No one dared sit with silence. No one noticed the tension they inhaled like air. So they learned that love meant surface, and pain became something you carried without proof, quietly, permanently. That's why so many adults walk around feeling guilty for feeling empty. Because on paper, nothing bad happened, but inside, everything good was absent. No one yelled, they just didn't listen. No one hit, they just didn't see. And it's hard to explain that kind of ache, because what do you say? That your childhood was polite? That you became emotionally allergic to your own sadness? That you never learned how to hold space because no one ever held it for you? People think trauma has to be loud, that the house has to be broken for the heart to be. But emotional neglect is a ghost. It doesn't throw things, it just never shows up. It doesn't scream, it stares past you. And that messes with a child in slow, invisible ways. It teaches them, don't bring up problems. Be useful, not real. Emotions make things uncomfortable. If you're upset, fix it alone. And so they grow up. Achievers, fixers, performers. Emotionally compressed, internally starving, externally applauded. And no one's asking, when did they trade authenticity for acceptance? When did they learn that showing how they felt was a burden? Maybe you're one of them. Maybe you keep trying to be impressive so you don't feel invisible. Maybe you apologize every time your tone cracks or tears gather. Maybe you call it overreacting because that's what you were always told. You didn't get slapped, you got gaslit by silence. You got emotionally erased with a smile. You got loved conditionally. So now your body doesn't feel safe in conversations. You either overshare to be heard or shut down to stay safe. You fall for emotionally unavailable people because they feel like home. You avoid conflict because discomfort was never modeled. You don't trust peace because there's always a cost. That's the blueprint you were given. You thought love meant don't make waves. You thought being low maintenance earned you worth. You thought your needs made you inconvenient. Now you're exhausted from always shrinking, performing, pleasing, earning your right to exist. And people wonder why healing feels impossible. It's not because you can't, it's because the wound keeps telling you there's nothing to heal. You try therapy, self-help books, journaling. But deep down, there's still that voice. Who am I to even feel this sad? Nothing that bad happened. I should be grateful. But survival doesn't mean it didn't hurt. Gratitude doesn't erase what you never received. You didn't need perfect. You needed presence. Even if your parents meant well, even if they gave all they had, it doesn't mean it was all that you needed. That's not blame. That's clarity. And you're allowed to name what wasn't there. You're allowed to say, I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel soothed. I didn't feel safe being me. Emotional neglect doesn't stop when you move out. It becomes the way you treat yourself. It becomes who you let love you and how you disappear in their presence. That's why healing it starts with what feels unnatural. Being still, being honest, being messy. You weren't weak. You were emotional in a family that didn't speak that language. And now your strength comes from finally translating what you were never allowed to say. I needed more than survival. I needed emotional truth. I needed to matter. You still do.